from Tennessee.
Thank you. I yield myself such time as I may can consume. This amendment would exempt from this particular bill the rules it has when it relates to food safety, workplace safety, consumer product safety, air quality, and water quality, things we all hold dear, things that will be jeopardized if this bill passes. As I noted in my opening remarks, this threatens to halt agencies' ability to promulgate rules by adding analytical requirements and numerous opportunities for industry to challenge agency rulemaking. Yeah, you should be able to challenge agency rulemaking, but courts shouldn't be able to summarily throw them out based on a lack of knowledge that they have of an area where the agencies are really experts. But that's what would happen. The societal cost of enacting 527 would be to place public health and safety at risk. As we enter this holiday season, it will be well to remember that in this season we take for granted that the food we eat and the water we drink and the drinks we drink at all our holiday dinners and receptions won't kill us or sicken us because of effective rulemaking. Likewise, we can take for granted toys given to children and grandchildren won't poison them because of strong regulations. But the consequences of failing to regulate can be dire. In 2006, 24-year-old Jillian Castro became gravely ill after eating spinach tainted with E. coli bacteria. Her organs were rapidly deteriorating, her kidneys were failing, her red blood cells and platelets were dropping rapidly, and she nearly died. According to the best available estimates by public health and food safety experts, millions of illnesses and thousands of deaths each year in this country can be traced to contaminated food. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that foodborne microorganisms cause 48 million illnesses, 128,000 hospitalizations, and 3,000 deaths. Many of these could be avoided with proper regulations from Food and Drug. That's why I ask that food safety be eliminated from this bill, because it will be expensive to treat these people, let alone the fact that they will die. The CDC estimates salmonella alone affects 1 million people a year. Just today, the Food and Drug Administration issued a recall of grape tomatoes because of potential salmonella contaminations. Other recent examples of regulatory failure include the listeria-tainted cantaloupes that killed 29 people across the country in October, pedal entrapment issues that caused cars to accelerate unexpectedly and resulted in Toyota's recall of nearly 2 million vehicles, Mattel's recall of nearly 1 million toys in 2007 because they were covered in lead paint. There are other examples of this. Public health and safety precautions have been on the books for a long time and were passed with bipartisan support. And the fact is there were more regulations during President Bush's term than there are during President Obama's overall when you calculate the time they've been in office. But there was no call when President Bush was in to cut back. There is only when President Obama's in office. The Pure Food and Drug Act was enacted in 1906 by Teddy Roosevelt. Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act in 1938, Clean Air Act and Occupational Safety Health Act were enacted by 1970 when Richard Nixon was president. The Clean Water Act was enacted in 1977. They've served our country well for many years. And if H.R. 527 is enacted without adopting this amendment, we can no longer take protections from these harms for granted, because in the future, agencies will be hamstrung from passing regulations to protect the public. I would urge us to pass this amendment and protect our workers, our consumers, our small businesses, our small business people when they eat their breakfast and their dinner, when they buy their toys for their children and their grandchildren, when they drive their cars, and when they work in their workplaces. I yield back the balance of my time and ask for a positive vote.